Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift were both reported to have reached joyful milestones in their personal lives, not with each other but with the partners who had stood beside them through their journeys. And yet, because of the long history that connected the two singers, their intertwined experiences, and the loyalty they had shown one another across years of fame, heartbreak, and recovery, the public embraced the moment almost as if it were a shared celebration of one story unfolding in two directions. It was on a Wednesday morning that Selena Gomez's Instagram stories became the place where millions gathered virtually because she had posted a screenshot of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's engagement announcement, overlaying it with the caption "When Bestie Gets Engaged" and a heart face emoji, and she set it to the background music that repeated Queen's "You're My Best Friend," so that even in the simplicity of the gesture, those who saw it interpreted it as something beyond congratulations, a moment that encapsulated the resilience of a friendship tested by time, fame, and the shifting tides of love. Reports explained that to fully grasp the depth of why the public cared, it was important to go back to the late 2000s when Disney Channel stood at its peak. Jonas Brothers' hysteria had swept across audiences, and the rise of social media was beginning to shape how stars were consumed, scrutinized, and followed. It was in this atmosphere of teenage fame and constant attention that two young women, Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift, were maneuvering through their early careers. Selena was then a Disney star rising quickly in popularity while dating Nick Jonas, and Taylor Swift was emerging with her country pop anthems and was linked romantically to Joe Jonas. The relationships ended, but something more enduring replaced them because out of the heartbreaks came a friendship that would go on to hold its own legendary place in pop culture. Selena later recalled that the best thing they both had received from those failed romances was each other, because in those youthful years they bonded over the breakups, remained close throughout the ups and downs, and built a tie that carried them forward for over 16 years, a tie that stood firm even as their careers took different directions. Fast forward, Taylor Swift and NFL star Travis Kelce announced their engagement with a carousel of photos that resembled a fairy tale scene, taken in a garden filled with flowers that mirrored the blossoming of their relationship. The caption they added said that the English teacher and the gym teacher were getting married, a humorous nod to their different worlds colliding in harmony, and once the post was made, it immediately went viral across platforms with fans and celebrities rushing to share love and support. Among all the responses, the one that drew the most sweetness was Selena Gomez's, because her repost carried not only celebration but also reflection on how far she and Taylor had come together. She even resurfaced an old message Taylor had written back in 2009 where she had posted that real love still happens sometimes, that it was not just a fantasy from childhood, insisting that she needed to believe it and her friend did too, and after 16 years those words felt more true than ever before. In December 2024, Selena Gomez herself shared her own engagement to producer Blanco, a man who had been with her through triumphs, setbacks, and quiet battles. Her announcement came with the simple phrase "Forever begins now," paired with a picture of a dazzling diamond ring that caused a frenzy among fans online. For her, the engagement was not only about love, but also about the beginning of another chapter for a woman who had navigated heartbreak, health challenges, and the demanding pressures of global fame, yet somehow remained authentic in the process. Through all of it, she had leaned on the people who mattered most, and Taylor Swift stood prominently among them. Their friendship was noted as the kind that rarely survived under the glare of such public attention, but both had managed to transform public fascination into a force for encouragement and inspiration. Subscribe now for more as we keep following this remarkable journey. Observers pointed out that when Selena faced health issues, Taylor remained by her side, and when Taylor endured public controversies or heartbreaks, Selena supported her, making their bond one of shared vulnerability and resilience. This was why their engagement news resonated so deeply with the public, because it was not just about two women finding love, it was about two best friends who had lived parallel yet connected stories and had consistently shown that their loyalty to one another was unshaken. Fans were reminded that when Selena added the caption "Queen's You're My Best Friend" to Taylor's engagement announcement, it was not just a lighthearted internet post, but a declaration of devotion and solidarity, an invitation for everyone to celebrate not only new beginnings, but also the strength of a friendship that had survived nearly 2 decades in an industry often known for rivalry. People recalled that this loyalty was not sudden, but had been cultivated over countless moments, from standing together during award shows to offering quiet support when one or the other faced heavy criticism. Their relationship became a symbol of women choosing to uplift rather than compete, rewriting narratives in a space where constant comparison was the norm. The public had watched them grow up, witnessed their triumphs and missteps, shared in the highs of career milestones, and mourned the lows of personal losses. So when both became engaged, the happiness felt collective, as though it belonged to everyone who had followed their journey since the teenage years of Disney stardom and early country ballads. The story then shifted toward speculation about what lay ahead, with talk about whether Selena and Taylor might serve as each other's maids of honor, whether bridal showers might be shared events, whether double dates could become frequent stories, and even whether there might be duets sung at weddings that blended love stories into music. The possibilities were endless, and the excitement of fans was evidence of how invested the world was in seeing what the next chapter would bring. Yet at the heart of the coverage was the certainty that whatever direction their lives took, their friendship would remain central, because the two women had already proven that fame, scrutiny, and distance could not tear apart what they had built. Commentators said the real beauty was not simply in the engagements, but in the knowledge that the story would continue with both of them walking side by side into new phases of adulthood. Their announcements therefore became more than just personal milestones. They transformed into collective celebrations of love, loyalty, and the enduring possibility of genuine bonds even in the spotlight. People scrolling through pictures of rings, floral gardens, and radiant smiles were reminded that this was only the beginning, and that if history was any guide, the years ahead would bring even more moments that would resonate beyond celebrity headlines. Don't forget to subscribe and stay connected so you never miss what comes next in their evolving journeys. The narrative continued with reminders of how extraordinary their beginnings had been. In the late 2000s, few could have imagined that two teenagers connected by parallel relationships with members of the Jonas Brothers would become lifelong best friends who would one day celebrate engagements almost at the same time, but that was exactly what unfolded. Selena reflected publicly that at that age they had become best friends by bonding over breakups, and she emphasized that despite the obstacles of careers and fame, they stuck around for one another, which was why 16 years later they were still together in spirit. Taylor's resurfaced words from 2009 about real love happening sometimes were powerful not only because they echoed through time but because they were anchored in a history where she had seen her belief in lasting love tested repeatedly, and now as she prepared to marry Travis Kelce, those words came back alive with fresh relevance. Meanwhile, Selena's understated but heartfelt forever begins now post regarding Blanco show the contrast in style but the similarity in depth, with both women preferring authenticity over spectacle when it came to revealing their private happiness. Analysts pointed out that while the internet exploded with joy and memes over the English teacher and gym teacher getting married caption, what gave the moment depth was the reminder that Taylor and Selena had traveled through heartbreaks, feuds, controversies, illnesses, and triumphs, yet still managed to be there for each other. It was said that their relationship exemplified not simply mutual admiration, but an unspoken pact to stand by one another when the world became harsh. Taylor had often praised Selena in interviews, and Selena had likewise called Taylor her best friend repeatedly, and these public affirmations were not empty words but had been lived through years of evidence. Fans remembered when Selena faced health scares that forced her to step back from the spotlight, Taylor offered unwavering support. And when Taylor endured public disputes that became global talking points, Selena stood firm behind her. This pattern of loyalty, repeatedly proven, convinced the public that their friendship was real and lasting, not a curated display for social media. For that reason, their engagements were not merely private matters, but moments that felt like victories for everyone who believed in authentic friendships. People often said that in a culture dominated by curated feeds and controlled narratives, the bond between Selena and Taylor felt refreshingly genuine, a reminder that true connection could survive even in spaces where everything seemed staged. The fact that both chose to celebrate each other so openly reminded fans that friendship itself could be as significant as romance. Reporters concluded that the world cared so much about the engagement announcements of Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift not simply because they were global stars, but because their shared history offered authenticity that was rare in pop culture, and fans could see themselves in the loyalty of two women who had grown from teenagers to adults while remaining best friends. It was observed that when Selena uploaded her Instagram story with a simple overlay of words and music, the act resonated because it represented years of companionship compressed into one moment, and it invited everyone to feel part of the journey. At the same time, Taylor's playful caption with Travis Kelce demonstrated that even at the height of fame, she preferred to express joy with humor and intimacy, which added to the relatability of the event. The engagements became stories not of isolation but of connection, where romance was celebrated alongside friendship, and the two stories intertwined like parallel lines that the public had followed since the late 2000s. Commentators emphasized that in an age where celebrity culture was often criticized for artificiality, Selena and Taylor stood out for maintaining bonds that seemed natural, resilient, and trustworthy, which was why their announcements were met not with cynicism but with genuine happiness. Their relationship illustrated that no matter how bright the spotlight or how intense the scrutiny, people could still choose loyalty, compassion, and encouragement. It was said that in watching them, fans found a reminder that real friendships and real love could exist side by side, reinforcing faith in both. Followers expressed pride as though victories for Selena and Taylor were victories for themselves, because after years of watching them mature, fall, rise, and rebuild, their milestones felt like shared triumphs. Questions arose quickly about how their weddings might unfold, whether Taylor would stand beside Selena as maid of honor, whether Selena might sing at Taylor's ceremony, or whether Blanco and Travis Kelce might be seen double dating with the two stars in public. And while no answers were available, the curiosity reflected the eagerness of a global audience that had grown up with their friendship. Observers claimed the excitement was not just for the spectacle of celebrity weddings, but for the possibility of seeing two friends continue to intertwine their narratives in fresh ways, and in the end the speculation only highlighted how deeply rooted their bond was in public imagination. Their journey was described as one where, despite endless challenges, both had chosen repeatedly to keep each other close, demonstrating that the people one kept in life mattered more than the obstacles faced. Their engagement announcements, therefore, were seen as evidence not only of love stories fulfilled, but of a friendship that had reached yet another milestone, one celebrated just as loudly as the rings on their fingers. Audiences scrolling through images of gardens overflowing with flowers, captions filled with humor, and reposts filled with heart emojis knew instinctively that this was a beginning, not an ending, and that more chapters were yet to come. Subscribe today so you don't miss those next chapters as they unfold in real time. The coverage concluded by affirming that Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift had shown the world that relationships of every kind, romantic or platonic, could endure if nurtured with sincerity. They had grown in front of millions, faced health challenges, artistic reinventions, heartbreaks, and public disputes, yet instead of letting those storms divide them, they had chosen to be constants in each other's lives. The story of their friendship was retold not as a side note to their engagements, but as the core reason why the news had spread with such celebration across the world. Their ability to uplift each other, to resist the narrative of competition, and to publicly affirm the value of friendship had made them role models beyond music or acting. It was said that their lives proved that the real magic lay not in the glamour of fame, but in the loyalty they showed to one another, and the engagements were simply the latest reminder of how far they had come together. As the world waits to see whether there will be bridal showers shared, duets sung, or heartfelt speeches delivered, the anticipation is fueled by a deeper truth. No matter what the details of their weddings will be, the bond between Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift will remain a central part of the story. In the end, their announcements were celebrated not as isolated news, but as proof that friendship could survive in the toughest spaces, and that was why the best was always yet to come.